Welcome everybody, I'm Lizzie Brooks and this is Muscle Meets Mindful. So today is a flow to get you out of a funky mood. So I'm not talking like a funky mood, but like I'm in a mood. Don't talk to me. Like I haven't had my coffee, don't talk to me. To get out of a funky mood. There's a lot of reasons to feel funky, and it doesn't matter why you feel funky, but you're here now and we're gonna get you feeling better. So come to a comfortable seat and we'll just start with the breath. So sometimes the breath is all we need. Breath and movement combined, I think that's the ticket. So take a deep breath in and take a big sigh out. Good, now breathe normally. And then on this next one, do the same inhale, but when you exhale, I want you to feel your body release, not just the breath release, but see what in the body that you can find releases. So inhale fully and let it go. Good, let that body release a little bit. Roll out the shoulders a little bit, the jaw, the neck. Don't get real technical here, just let that go. And then join me in a downward facing dog. So getting your hands down onto the earth, rooting down, is a really good way to stop spinning a little bit out of control in our funky moods. So root down, know that the ground is there, know you're supported, tuck your toes under, and then go into a really nonchalant downward facing dog. So not one where you're competitively trying to put your heels down on the floor, but rather where you're just going, whoa, I'm getting some length. That feels good, that feels right. And just breathe there and soften your neck. And then we're gonna play coming into a plank, but we're gonna come into it differently than just passing into plank straight like that. So take the ball joints of your feet to touching, and I want you to imagine that you're rounding at the low back first. So it's almost a tuck of the tailbone that happens first, and then the low back, then the mid back, then the upper back, and then we'll come into plank. So start to round, drop your head, round, 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 low back, mid back, upper back, and then unfurl into a classic plank. Let's do that again. Exhale to downward facing dog. Lift your heels, round, tuck the tailbone, drop the head, low back, mid back, upper back, shoulders, and then unfurl, gazes down and slightly forward into plank. Now notice when I come forward, I'm not dropping into a back bend here, okay? So let's do that 2 more times. Lift the heels, round, draw the organs towards the spine. There is core work here, absolutely. Plank, and exhale, downward dog, take a breath. 1 more time, lift, round, articulate that spine, get into that core support, find your strength, find your breath, and exhale, downward facing dog. Now, walk your left foot in just a little bit more into the midline and raise your right leg up. And I'm gonna do something I don't always do. I'm gonna ask you to do whatever you want with this top leg. So within reason. So you can lift it up, you can stack, you can bend, you can move it around in circles, just explore. So I don't want you to feel that you're stuck in someone's idea of how you should move, but more so your freedom to move within safety. Yeah. And then let's round that in. Use what you used earlier in that plank and step that right foot forward into a low lunge. Lift your hips up, lengthen and elongate. Exhale, bend into the lunge. Inhale, lengthen, open the legs, lengthen the spine. Exhale into the lunge. 1 more time, hips up. It's a modified pyramid pose. Exhale into the lunge. Put both hands on the inside of that right arch, and then you're gonna walk all the way to the opposite end of your mat. So changing your perspective is really good for changing your mood. So turn it around a little bit. Place now each hand on either side of your foot. Take your time stepping back into downward dog. Pedal it out. Open to the breath, open to the body. Root your palms, and let's do that again with our lift. We'll walk the right foot in a little bit towards the midline and let the left leg not go crazy, but go into some spaciousness and some movement where you feel free and supported and that ability to explore. And then we'll hug, round in, seal down, come to the fingertips here. You could always use blocks. Inhale, lengthen the legs, hips draw back. Exhale, into the lunge. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lunge. I'm already feeling less funky. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale into that lunge. Put both hands on the inside of the left arch now. Pause for a moment just for that hip stretch. And then we're gonna walk, this time just halfway to the middle. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, fold any amount. So do you have to come into a deep fold for this to work? No. Maybe you're in a half fold or you have blocks. You might even bend the knees here. Soften the neck. Breathe those hamstrings. And then we'll transition to where we started, back at that top of your mat, right side lunge. Hands down, come into your plank pose. Take the ball joints of your feet together. Lift your kidneys, round the spine a little bit, and hover your knees about an inch over your mat. So you're doing a hovered cat pose with your knees further back than the hips. A lot of work in the core and the quads. Of course, the upper body too. Straighten it up and hover around. Straighten it into plank, hover into that round. Straighten and lower all the way down. Choose the child's pose that works best for you. For me, it's parting the knees, toes together, arms forward. For you, it might be anything else. Knees could be together, arms could be back, lots of different options. So part of not feeling so funky or moody is making the choices that are uniquely your own and really not giving a flying flip about what anyone else's choices are, especially if you're in a class of a lot of people and everyone else is going to make a different yogic choice than you, and that's for them. So stick with you and you'll be great. Downward facing dog. Soften the neck again. So again, if you're harboring tension there, really fast way to release that is to just let that head hang down, jaw is soft. We'll take our first vinyasa option here. You can skip this and stay in downward dog or come to child's instead. Plank pose, this time we're doing that straight movement to plank. Heels rock forward, chaturanga, you might come all the way to the floor. If you came all the way to the floor, cobra. If not, you might be doing an upward dog. Root the fingertips here, shoulders draw back, wake up the inner thighs, tops of the feet root. Exhale, derive it from your deep low belly core to downward facing dog and pedal it out. And then look to the top of your mat and decide how do you want to get there, and just get there. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, fold, maybe bend the knees. And then choose how you'd like to rise and come all the way to stand. And bring your hands to your heart. Good. So stay where you are. I'm going to face towards you. And I want you to find a mountain pose that feels like you are not holding on to tension, but that you are aligned. You're in this relationship with gravity where gravity is pressing down on you and you're rebounding back up from the earth. Soften through the glutes, soften through the knees. Deep breath in. And shake off any clutter. Just simplify the moment. So the easiest way to simplify the moment is through the breath. All right, so here we are in our mountain pose. I'm going to come back up to the top of the mat with you. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, chair pose, hands to the heart. God, talking. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, chair pose. You're going to inhale in your chair. You're going to keep the torso high but slightly angled forward and take a twist to the left. So this is going to get into the shoulders and the back a little bit more, also core and legs. Inhale, center. Exhale, high twist, other side. Inhale, center. Exhale, stand tall. Shake it out. We're going to use that, but this time option to twist a little deeper. Inhale to the reach, exhale, chair. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, either do the same high twist you did before, or you can take the elbow to the outside of the right or left leg. Draw the right knee back. That'll draw the right hip back, and then make the twist a little more axial along the spine. Breathe here in the twist. If there are other options for the arms or the gaze that you like to take, absolutely do that. Inhale, center. Fingertips down, exhale, fold, straighten the legs any amount. Inhale, back into chair, hands to the heart. Either you're going to take the high twist or a little lower. Inhale, get long. Exhale, twist to the right. Elbow comes outside of either of those knees for your twist around. Drag the left hip crease back, so I'm turning to watch you. I can see you. No. Drag the left hip crease back. Inhale. Exhale, untwist and fold. Take it back into your plank pose. Breathe in plank. From here, you have the option to either hold here or, staying stable at the low belly, come down into a forearm plank. Then lead with your right hand and press up into full plank. Let's lead with the left forearm down, then right. Lead with the left hand, back up. Good, downward facing dog. Deep breath draws in and sigh it out. Lower down slowly to the knees and sit back on the heels or any way that feels good to you. So sometimes when we do that type of hard work, especially in plank, we take the tension up through the neck and the jaw and we go back into our messed up mood. So from here, let's just take a moment, iron out those kinks, and then come to the portion of us that is liquid, that goes with the flow, that doesn't stay stuck, and just bring that into mind and let that fluid of the body just move on the breath, just like a babbling brook. What else is babbling? Isn't it always called a babbling brook? Isn't that funny? A babbling, what else? Babbling, I'm babbling. Downward facing dog. Root into your palms. This time, right leg's gonna reach out and back. You're not gonna flail it or kind of move it in the same way you did to begin. Round in, use that core musculature. Step through into your lunge. Put both hands again on the inside of that arch and lower the back knee this time. So this might be a nice place to put a blanket. So I'm gonna go ahead and place my blanket there because there's an option for a quad stretch, and when you bend the knee, it can add some tenderness to the kneecap. So I'm gonna breathe here. Blocks might be useful under your hands. And then play with the positioning of the pelvis where it feels right for you. Whew. Feeling really nice and tight in there. And then option to stay here or to rise up to that right knee. Roll the shoulders back, root the floor. You can stay right here or gazing back to that back heel, bend the knee and see if you can touch those toes. So same hand, same leg on that side, left side. And then if that's working and you need a little bit more, maybe you're gonna walk down the foot to the ankle and draw in. You can gaze forward here, and if there's a different shoulder position you'd like to take by spinning the fingertips forward, drape the tailbone a little bit, breathe here. This is a big one, so don't feel like you need to go to this fullest extension. You might be here, that's great. And then slowly lower down, put both hands on the inside of that right arch again, lift that back knee. And then you might come down, so we came down in our plank to forearm plank, maybe come down here. If that's too much, build the floor up to you and come to it here. Okay, breathing. So we're getting into that right hip and left hip in a bit different way. And then start to circle around a little bit. You might change the position of the foot. We're just, whew. These are ball and socket joints, so we can move in a lot of different ways and get into a lot of different tension. When we have a little more space and, well, we need space and stability, but when we get a little bit more freedom in the hips within reason, I think that can really help our mood. And then let's go ahead and come out of that. If you used a block, place it off to the side. And then lift the back knee, and we'll go back into that half fold. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, fold. Hands can come to the ankles or the toes. If you want to come into the shoulders now, hands to the waist, elbows up and back, or interlace your fingers, roll the shoulder blades onto the back. Inhale, exhale, fold any amount. You can also use a strap here and hold on to the strap. 3 breaths. This is a really good one for opening the side of the ribs, and it really feels like it's getting into the undersides of the armpits and the sides of the lungs. Come on up. If you know you're going to use a block on the other side, you might want to take that with you. We'll transition to the other side of the mat. Again, change that perspective. Step back into a plank pose. And then if you want to take a vinyasa from here, feel free. You might want to move your blanket and heels rock forward, taking the vinyasa as you like with whichever back bend works, and finding your downward facing dog. Pedaling that out. Find a moment of peace in your breath. Left leg reaches out and back. Wrap it in. Seal it down. Add your breathing here. And then both hands come to that inner left arch. Again, blanket might be useful to pad your back knee. Breathing here, and then where's the placement of the hips? Where is that best for you? You can stay here. You might rise up. And then from here, you might open up your heart and breathe. You might look back and find your back toes, maybe just touching, maybe drawing in a little bit further, and maybe rolling the fingertips forward and taking the heel a little closer to the outside of the hip. And then again, depending on how you're tucking or reaching your pelvis, it's going to change the stretch in the quad. So you might tuck the tailbone just a little bit, not overly so, but just to gain more access to the quads. Inhale, exhale, slowly unwind. Place the hands back down on the inside of that left arch, lift to the back knee. You might again want a block to come down to the forearms here, or nothing, okay? So you can play with what works for you, and then we'll circle the hips. If you want to put that back knee down, put the back knee down, okay? Ooh, really, really getting into those hips. And then lower the back knee if it wasn't. Go ahead and straighten it up. Lift the back knee up, and we'll transition to that fold. You don't need the blanket quite now, but we're gonna rise up from here. So bring your hands to your waist or interlace them, press into the floor, micro bend the knees or bend them a lot, and come all the way back up. Roll the shoulders back. Lift the heart, and then soften and shake that out. So we're gonna do a little something for the shoulders here. Again, when we want to be in a better mood, it's really lovely to be more in our lungs and in our breathing. So there's 2 ways to do that. There's a lot of ways to do that, but it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Do we try to take a deeper breath to get more air, or do we try to make space through the muscles and the soft tissue and everything to make space for the lungs? Well, we do both. We focus on the breath, really getting into more of the tissue and the movement of the lungs, and we also focus on all the areas that surround the lungs, the shoulders, the diaphragm, all the way down into the pelvis to get more movement and a little bit more spaciousness for the lungs to even go into. So from here, I'm going to show you from behind so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to interlace your fingers and take both hands over onto one hip. Okay, so you're taking the top of your hand over kind of in the waistline, the side of the waist. And then from here, draw your elbows together. And then you can take your gaze a little left and right. So depending on how you hold your tension, you might feel this a little, you might feel this a whole lot. It's like you're squeezing your elbows together. And then from there, straighten it out, lift your heart, exhale any amount of a fold with or without the bind. Root the feet, bend the knees any amount, come all the way back up, and we'll take that to the other side. Interlace the opposite finger on top. I'll try to get out of my microphone's way. Take that to the other side, elbows draw together, and then gaze slowly left to right, opening the shoulders, knuckles down, heart lifts, exhale, fold any amount. Now this time you're gonna keep the bind if you have it. If not, you can just walk the hands over, and you're gonna take your torso over to one leg. Then you're gonna roll your lower rib cage down even more and reach the knuckles away. Breathe there. Come through midline over to the other side. Roll the lower ribs a little further down, twisting a little bit towards that other leg, breathing here. Come back through center, unfurl the arms to the floor, fingertips down and heel toe in, knees and toes out, same direction, Malasana, squat pose. So this is one where you could always put in a block. Okay, first two heights of the block, not here. If you need higher, use 2 blocks, okay? And then root into the outer edges of your feet a little bit more if you're mostly collapsed to the inner arches, which is just something that is really easy to do, and you're human, so you might have done it before, like myself. Breathe here, soften the neck. Imagine that the upper glutes are softening down a little bit here. This one's really good for elimination because you're pressing into the ascending colon and the descending colon. And it's also really good for keeping the hips and the low back safe and healthy. And optional twist. Right fingertips come down to the floor, left arm up. Only gaze up if that feels good for the neck. And back to center. Fingertips down, hips lift, heels out. Exhale back into your Malasana. Root into the feet, reach for the floor, open wide with that right arm out and back. And make sure the neck is somewhere where it feels really safe to you. Inhale. Exhale back to the center. Fingertips down, inhale, lift up. Exhale back into that squat pose. All right, so we're prepping these hips pretty good today. A lot of hip stuff today. If you want a little bit more, interlace your fingers and take the arms out. If you want a whole lot more in the back and shoulders, reach that up. That's a lot of work in the back and shoulders. If that made you have a super funky mood, then we've defeated the purpose. So separate here or go back to fingertips on the floor or hands to the heart. Breathe here. And then we're gonna slowly come all the way up. If you have knee issues, don't come up this way. Rather fold first and then come up in the way that's best for you, maybe through chair pose. All the way to stand, heels reach back, arms up, and hands through to the heart. Deepest breath of the day. Big cleansing sigh out. Shake it out. Yeah, that's a yoga move. That's a yoga move. All right. Feet underneath the hips. And just find your alignment. Unlock through the joints. I say this a lot, but whenever I feel cluttered or pent up, a really good thing for me to change my mood and feel like I'm a little more going with the flow is to imagine that I don't just have lungs in my chest, but I have lungs in my brain. And so I'm going to breathe those new lungs for more freedom and more release through just my thinking mind. And then from here, deep breath in and let it go. All right, come up to anywhere, this way or this way, but the top of your mat, short edge of your mat, and tap your right set of toes back. Press your fingertips back. Land into that front knee with a bend, and then as you're ready, straighten and lift. So this is a standing back bend, working that posterior chain, really important to work the back body. Breathing here. Then bring your hands to your heart and your right knee towards your belly. Breathe here. Then press it back. Open, lift the sternum. Exhale, draw in, hands to the heart, knee towards the belly. One last time, reach it back. Draw it forward, and then if you want, either interlace your fingers under the leg and straighten any amount, or don't use the hands under the leg. Then bend that front knee, bend your standing leg, pitch your chest forward, use your arms for balance, and rise up into a high lunge. If you would rather make this warrior one feet, then walk your right foot over to the right more, circle the heel down, balance out through the pelvis, and reach up again. So whichever one feels better for your low back and your hips, add that. Breathing. And then from here, if you chose that warrior one position, lift the back heel, swim your arms back behind you. We'll do the same bind as we did before, unless that doesn't work, and put your hands on your waist or use a strap. Open your heart, lean forward, an option to come into warrior three with that same bind as before. Back leg is active and strong, and you have a slight bend in your standing leg. If this is too much with the arms, put the fingertips on the floor or on blocks. From here, begin to bend your standing leg more. Take it slow. Land the back toes. Reach the arms up. Bring your hands to your heart, and we're going to revisit a twist from before. Either inhale and exhale, twist high, or inhale and exhale, twist low. Breathing, plugging in that back leg no matter which twist you chose. Look down at the floor. Take your hands there, step back into plank, and choose if you're going to add a vinyasa here or not. A really good way to get in a bad mood is to not have enough breath to sustain your practice. So if that's the case, you come to child's pose at any time, catch your breath there, and then move forward when you're ready. All right. From here, look to the top of the mat, take your feet there. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, which means come halfway up. Exhale, fold, bend the knees any amount. Inhale, all the way up to stand. And exhale, hands back to the heart. All right, so we'll go into those standing back bends. Actually gonna come over to this other side so I have a little bit better angle for you. Soften the knees, touch back with the left toes. Press back with the arms. You'll start to feel the triceps engage. And then as you're ready, bend into that standing leg a little bit more. Lift just a little. Breathing here, working the back body, even the hamstrings. Inhale, exhale, hands to the heart, knee in. Press it back, breathing, lifting the chest. Exhale, center. One more time, pressing it back. Shoulder blades roll on to the back and draw it in. You can stay with this or interlace underneath. You can extend that leg any amount with support or not. Whoop, shouldn't have looked at the camera. Breathing here. Bend that leg. Swim your arms back. If you're interlacing, interlace other finger on top and maybe come into your warrior three. Turn the back set of toes down to level out the pelvis a little bit more. Remember, you could always put your fingertips down on the floor or on blocks. Breathing here. And then bend your standing leg more. Find that back foot coming down, rising up. Good. Maybe you'll reach up here. And then if you want to make this warrior one footing, you'll walk your left foot more to the left, seal the heel down, make sure you feel safe in the pelvis and sacrum, and then reach the arms up. So again, the footing, that's up to you, here or here. If you chose the warrior one footing, rotate that back heel up. We'll come into balance in the legs, hands to the heart. Inhale, exhale, high twist, or take it into that low twist, plugging that back femur head into the pelvis there. Neck is happy, so if you don't feel good looking up or if you've lost your balance, look horizontal or look down. And then we'll all look down, find the floor, step slowly back into plank pose. We're gonna add something a little different here. So from here, right knee draws in and back. Left knee draws in and back. Right knee towards right elbow and back. Left knee towards left elbow and back. Widen your feet. Right hand touches left shoulder and down. Left hand touches right shoulder and down. Right hand touches left thigh and down. This is like Twister. Left hand touches right thigh and down. I didn't say Simon Says. Exhale, downward dog. Now I'm mixing up games. Add your breath, shimmy your hips a little side to side, and let yourself get a little more back bendy in this downward dog than usual, so use it for a different benefit. And then go ahead and create your structure and go back to that classic downward facing dog. Find your plank pose. Here's where you choose if you want to do your side plank on your forearm or on your hand. Left forearm or hand down. If you're doing it on the forearm, you might want to turn your forearm parallel to the short edge of your mat, if that feels better on your shoulder. And then rolling, stacking your feet, make L shapes at the ankles and reach up with that top arm. If this is a little too much, stagger your feet or step the top leg forward, knee bent, and then lift the hips a little bit here. Breathing. Any other options? Up to you. Maybe you're gonna play with lifting that top leg or bending the knee or touching. Maybe you'll come into extension here if the hamstrings are ready for that. Coming all the way back, classic full plank. Add a downward dog or a vinyasa of your choice. Breathing here, and I'm going to switch sides for the other side of side plank. You choose, are you taking hand down or right forearm? Rotate to the side, stack, lift, maybe stagger, maybe step front foot forward. Lifting the hips. Top arm could reach if you want a little bit more of that lateral stretch. And then from here, maybe play with other options. The angling of your ankle of that lower leg will help you balance here. And we'll come back to our plank pose and then child's pose, roll the wrists out. And now from our child's pose, we're gonna go ahead and move through one really, really slow, mindful vinyasa and come back up to the top of the mat and put together some of the stuff we prepped for into a new posture. So choose your way. I'm gonna take something for the beginning of class where we rounded into plank, and I'm gonna marry that into the vinyasa. So if you wanna do that with me, feet come a little closer together, drop the head, round the spine, articulate all the way, create the plank, then your chaturanga, maybe to the floor, maybe to upward dog or cobra, and then downward facing dog, finding your way to the top of your mat, chair pose, and to standing. All right, so earlier we did these these press backs, and we prepped here, we prepped our warrior threes. We're gonna bring this into a dancer pose, and if you like to use a strap for your dancer pose, feel free to do that. So from here, and actually I think I'm going to show you from this side so you can see a little bit better at this angle. We're going to start the same way, tap back, find yourself really steady and anchored in that standing leg. So not rigid here and trying to fly up from there, but putting some tethers down. And then as you're ready, as you stand tall, see if you can find that back ankle. Again, similar to what we did when we stretched our quads before, right? So you're seeing it come together. Maybe you'll stay here. Maybe the knees will be in line and you'll open your chest and drape the tail just a little bit and be here. Maybe reach forward and begin to press the hand into the foot, foot into the hand, and make some space from your heel to your sitting bone. If you want to change from an internally rotated shoulder to an externally rotated shoulder, change your hand position to the inside of the foot or ankle if that feels okay. Spread those back toes so you don't get a cramp, and then make some space. Don't think about coming with the chest right forward like you did in Warrior 3. Immediately think about lifting and opening first, and then if you come a little forward, let that be secondary. I'm not a real stickler about the hips here. Yes, the hips are more forward and down than to the sides, but it needs to feel good in your body. Breathing in your Natarajasana, dancer pose. And slowly coming up back to where we were here a moment ago or a few moments ago, and then shake that all out. Instead of adding anything on, we're just going to go directly to the other side, but we're going to do our chair pose first. So find a chair pose, hug your inner thighs gently to the midline here, arms where you want them. Lots of different options. And then come to standing, shake that all out. Other side. Tap the left toes back, open the chest, feel into that standing leg, ground down, and as you're ready, see if you can find the ankle coming into the hand. You can reach forward for balance here, and you can stay exactly here. This is a balanced pose. This is, you're working. Okay, I'm going to scoot back a little bit. Then from here, maybe create some space. Stay with that, or change your hand position to the inner ankle, spread the back toes, make a little more space, open your heart, and then maybe venture a little bit more into the forward movement. Breathing. Soft bend in that standing leg. And slowly coming back, hug the knee in, and pedal it all out. So for the hips, we've primarily focused on the hamstrings and the front of the hips, so front and back of the legs. Now let's go into a wider stance and go a little bit more into the groin. So knees and toes point the same direction, similar to what you did in your Malasana squat pose, but we're higher up. Hands onto the knees. Breathe here, add your length to your spine. And then from here, if you want to add a twist and get into the shoulders and the back a little bit more, you'll turn your right set of fingertips down, and you'll either come more forward or over to the opposite leg. Now, some people like to turn both sets of fingers down. You choose which feels better into that back shoulder. And then from here, maybe come over to that leg, pressing the knees gently out, stretching into the back. Inhale, center. Choose how you like your hand position to be, and either a little more forward or a little more to the opposite leg. Inhale, center. Exhale, first side. Inhale, center. Exhale, second side. Inhale, center, and straighten it all up. Turn the toes forward and shake that out. Open up the hips into a little circle here, both directions. Good. And then shake that all out. Now we're going to move into the glutes, and then that will kind of complete the all four quadrants of the hips. So take the feet in front of you, and we're just going to practice a little bit here. If you need to use a chair or a wall for this, okay? That's going to help with balance, or even blocks in front of you. Soften the knees. Lift your right knee up. externally rotate it, and place it right above your other knee. Engage that ankle similar to what you did in your side plank. Press the hip creases back, so draw the glutes back. Breathe here. If you want to come a little more forward here, or fingertips to the floor or blocks, or holding onto your chair or the wall, do that. Now imagine that left to right, you're parting your sitting bones a little bit. Isometrically, you'll feel that stretch. And then if it's okay and fingertips are on the floor or blocks, fold any amount into that forward fold. You'll be a little bit more in the standing leg hamstrings. Then go ahead and bend. Bring the hands back up, and now we're gonna take a twist like we did before, either a high twist to the left, or this time elbow comes in front or to the base of our right foot for the twist. This is a big balanced twist. This is why we were opening those hips earlier. And then from here, if you wanna change your arm position, your lower hand can come to a block, ooh, and then you find the wall. Or you can take the fingertips to the floor. Breathing here. I love that that wall is there. And as you're ready, slowly coming to center, lifting up to where you started, straightening the leg knee in, and take it down and march it out. All right, so that was not easy. If you got moody about it, did you just watch me fall over? I hope that made you feel better. We all fall. Soften the knees, left knee in, externally rotate. Set it up, hips back. Now remember, you don't have to do any of the twist. It might make you feel a lot less moody to just go, yeah, I'm gonna open my hips here. You can fold halfway, you can fold down. If you wanna straighten the standing leg, you can straighten there with any amount of a micro bend in the standing leg knee. And then coming back up and balancing here. Now you're gonna choose, maybe you're gonna take a high twist. I would say this is a little bit easier than dropping down elbow inside or outside of that foot. You can move your foot over with the other hand. And so looking down for me is the best way to stabilize. And then again, you can open the arms here. I'm not gonna look up because my balance is not feeling supreme today. So I'm gonna keep my gaze down for this one. Breathing. And then really carefully back to center, back up, knee up and forward, and then down and shake that all out. We'll go back into our goddess squat, knees wide, torso lifted, reaching out. Take the palms forward as if you're holding an offering to someone that you love. Breathing here. All right. Press a little bit up as if someone's hands were pressing down into your hands. Press up into their hands, but don't let the hands go anywhere. You might feel a little more engagement in the core. And then reverse that. Push down as if someone was pushing their hands up into your hands. Breathe there. Then both arms are going to come up. Elbows open, opening the heart. Inhale here. Exhale any amount of high twist or leaning twist. Inhale. Exhale, other side, high twist or leaning twist. Really getting into that back. And back to center. Reach it all up and straight, legs and arms. Heels draw back. Exhale, last time we'll come to Prasarita Padasana, wide-legged fold. Inhale, rise halfway up. And exhale, let's spin to the top of the mat where you started. Right foot forward, left leg back. Plank pose, last time for this plank pose in this flow. So make it nice and strong and find the support of your breath underneath it. So obviously there's a layer of skin and muscle and bone, but see if you can find as if there's a really nice supportive layer of breath here. You're stronger than you think you are. And 3, 2, 1. Lower the knees, press back into your child's pose again. And just wiggle the shoulders and the rib cage a little bit side to side, the slight twist, elongating the lateral sides of the body. And then rise up into a seated position. So any seated position, and you might grab that blanket from prior in your practice and sit on up if that helps your low back and your hips feel a little better. And ease into the breath. So like I said before, if you are feeling unbalanced and moody and cranky and funky, then the fastest way to get into calm and authenticity is through just slowing down, finding your breath, recognizing it was there for you all the time, but it just sometimes takes a little bit to find it. So you'll find that here. Take a swallow, relax the throat, relax the jaw, relax all the little muscle fibers that surround the eyes. Inhale fully. Sigh out. Good. Roll the shoulders back and down a few times. Maybe take the head around again. So it depends on where you hold your tension. You really want to find those places and know where they are so you know how to release them and when. Let the head hang, and then one cervical vertebra at a time, take the head back up into alignment and sigh out from there. All right. And then we'll come onto our sitting bones and our feet forward. All right. So here we are. Fingertips can point forward, sides, or back. That's going to change the angle of the shoulder, internal, in between, and external. So what works best for you today, find that. Also, think about the wrist. Roll the shoulder blades onto your back and lift your heart. Just broadening through the chest and working the back muscles. Take a deep breath in and sigh out. Good. Now we'll open the other way. Take your hands in front of the knees. Round the spine, take the low back to the floor, round in, drape your head in, and part between the shoulder blades here, and take a deep breath here in the rounding, and out. And then roll the chest up, elbows back, reverse, and come on to a seated pose. And then from here, I want you to decide if you need a blanket underneath you. We're going to come into a modified boat pose with an option for full boat. And if your tailbone's a little bit tender, you might want to put a blanket here now. All right. Coming back to the feet in front of you, hands underneath the thighs. Use that same lift as before, but just tilt back a little bit, enough to let the feet lift up. Keep that engagement and maybe extend one leg a little bit or a lot. And then alternate other leg a little bit or a lot. Maybe you'll keep the shins a little more parallel with the floor with support. Maybe reach here. Maybe come into any amount of extension here, spreading the toes. 3, 2, 1. Hug it all in. Woo. Open up between those shoulder blades again. Find that reverse back bend. So this is a back bend and this is a back bend. It's just we're bending the back in a different direction. And then come up to a comfortable seat. Inhale here. Exhale, hinge a little bit forward and just take a gentle stretch. So if you are not feeling enough in the hips, that might mean that you need to move your shins more towards, further away from your pelvis. And you, again, might want a blanket under your hips. And breathing here. And walk it all the way back up. Let's cross the legs in the opposite direction. Again, the ankles might be closer in towards you for a little less stretch, and further away and closer to their opposite knee for more stretch. And one hip is probably tighter than the other. That's generally what we find in our practice, that we have one that's a little looser and one that's a little tighter. So you might stay in your tighter side a little longer to eventually balance that out. The inhale is full. The exhale might be even more full. Just finding exactly where you need to be without pushing it. And then inhale, come all the way back up. Draw the legs in, and we'll roll all the way down onto the back. Hug the knees into the chest and rock just a little bit side to side. Point and flex the ankles, move the toes around a little bit. And then from here, soles of the feet come down. You might just stay here breathing. If you want a little bit more, lift one leg up, interlace anywhere on the back of that leg, maybe use a strap, and elongate the low back to the floor as you take a gentle stretch here. We'll move this into a half happy baby pose. So you're gonna either grab on the side of the leg, anywhere, ankle or side of the foot, and press that knee down towards the floor. If you want to extend the lower leg down, or the leg that's further away from you down, and that feels good, stay with that. If it feels better for you to be here, go there. And then slowly unwind. Knees stay bent, other knee comes in. Slide the hands anywhere to the back of the leg where that stretch feels like it's accommodating you rather than aggravating you. Breathe there. So paint the back of your leg with your breath. Just imagine that painting, whatever color you like. And then option for half happy baby pose, wherever you need to grab onto the side of that right leg. Knee could stay bent or extended on the other leg. So you just choose exactly what works for you there. I'm going to stay bent today. And then uncross. Hug the knees back in one more time. And we'll lay it all down for final relaxation pose, Shavasana. If you'd like a blanket under your knees or under your head, feel free. It might feel good to take your hand on your heart or belly or one of each. And just take a moment to recognize what's important to you. When we finally calm down the body, what we know is important and what matters, it's really great to remind ourselves. So we get stuck in our bubble, we get stuck in minutia and detail and surface. And when we drop into the depth, we go, oh, you know what? Like in a day or a week or a month or a year, that's not gonna matter. So deep breath in, sigh out what doesn't matter, come into what does matter. Caring for yourself does matter. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and for taking the time to modify and make changes to whatever I am putting out there. So there's no one-size-fits-all yoga, and the more that we can recognize that, the better we're gonna feel inside our bodies and our hearts and our minds. So thank you again for being here. Please subscribe to this channel so that the YouTube people know that maybe this channel is worth something. I hope it is to you. And like this video if you actually liked it. And I hope you are in a better, less funky mood, and have a beautiful day. Namaste, everyone.